Welcome back to another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Jon-Bernard, this is Nick. We are the K-Roos brothers giving you the fight news from around the world. We are in the sporting capital of the world, Las Vegas.
We're back in Las Vegas. You can see it behind us. The billboards are everywhere.
New York.
It's about 50 degrees outside, 50 degrees Celsius that is.
So hot.
It's so hot. I'm sweating I'm not going to say it,
Balls
but it's
off,
disgusting.
Yeah, now look, it's going to be a big week this week. We've got some massive boxing matchups. You'll probably see the ad behind us. It's Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios. Tim Tszyu gets his redemption fight against Fundora in the rematch for the WBC, WBO title. You've got Usyk fighting Dubois this week. You've got UFC, Dustin Poirier's retirement fight. It's a stacked week of combat sports. We're going to preview it all for you. We've got some breaking news as well. But let's get straight into the hot take of the week, Nick. What's the hot take of the week?
Hot take this week comes from Max Holloway. Max Holloway has said Ilia Topuria's last 3 wins are overrated. He doesn't rate them at all. When you go through them individually, he beat an old man Volk, he beat a Charles Oliveira on a 1-fight win streak, and obviously Max Holloway himself.
This is his words. It's just tough. He beat names. You can't deny that. It just sucks when you look at the Volk fight with Volk coming off Islam. People just look at the names. They're not looking at the record. What was Charles on a 1-fight win streak? He's basically saying that Ilia didn't fight guys in his prime, which is weird because then he's basically saying he himself is washed.
I feel like he's saying 2 out of the 3 wins are overrated. The win against him was overrated. But my problem is with Max Holloway, you're really just jealous of Ilia Topuria. I'm not saying he's personally jealous, but the way you look at it, Ilia Topuria has achieved everything Max Holloway wished he had done in his career. He beat Volkanovski, beat him convincingly by knockout. Volkanovski beat Holloway 3 times. He went up to lightweight, something Max Holloway tried to do, and won the lightweight title. Again, something Max Holloway could not do. So Ilia Topuria is just living out Max Holloway's dream. So I just think this is just a classic case of Max Holloway being jealous.
Maybe the timing just worked better for Ilia. It was a better time for Ilia to do what Max Holloway always wanted to do. But even to add more salt to the wound, Max Holloway says, and you know what? Justin Gaethje even hits harder than Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, that one I didn't understand at all. He said, yeah, look, when I faced Ilia Topuria, he didn't really hit that hard. I just felt like he just hit me. But when Gaethje hit me with his leg kicks or a punch, I felt that much harder.
But also, he's the only guy to knock you out. It doesn't really make sense.
How can Max Holloway make sense of the guy that knocked me out doesn't hit as hard as the guy I knocked out?
It's a bit of a cope. And just based on, like you said, resumes, it doesn't look like Gaethje hits as hard as Topuria. Topuria is a knockout artist. He calls it how he's going to get it done. And not to glaze Ilia, but no one really has matched up to that resume. And I feel bad for Max. I don't know if he's just trying to big note himself by downplaying Ilia's achievements, but it does look that way. It does look a little bit salty.
Well, let's see. Justin Gaethje versus Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira won that fight, didn't get knocked out. Ilia Topuria knocked out Charles. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway, no knockout there. Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway, TKO. So, again, I just don't know what Max Holloway's smoking here. I feel like maybe he's a bit salty after getting knocked out by Ilia, but I feel like maybe he's just trying to get promotion for the fight week going.
Now, news that happened today. It's Conor McGregor's birthday. Happy birthday to Conor McGregor. To grace us with his birthday, we get nudes of him on Twitter. Azalea Banks leaks the DMs that Conor McGregor sends him, pretty much him fully naked, saying, "Don't be a rat."
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly naked. So there's allegedly Conor McGregor sent alleged photos of himself naked.
Unsolicited nude pics.
Completely unsolicited to some female on Twitter. I don't know who she is. Apparently she's very popular.
Azalea Banks, yeah.
And he tells her, do not post this or do not tell on me, you rat.
Yeah, don't be a rat.
Don't be a rat because you know what happens to rats. So, like, he wasn't even giving her a chance to rat. He was just saying, I'm sending you these, don't send them.
He also followed it up with what looks like another nude pic, but he just says lifting weights and he's balancing some weight on his penis, which is very unique and an only Conor McGregor thing could do. But again, Azalea Banks kind of put that out and said, isn't this guy supposed to be running for president in Ireland? Like,
Is he? Is he supposed to be running for president?
At his age, it seems like no one cares anymore if Conor McGregor is just punching someone in a nightclub, sending nudes to someone. He's just been seen on a beach with, I'm going to say some I'll say 5 out of 10 women. Like, for Conor McGregor's stature and his celebrity.
And also he's married.
He should be with supermodels and he's just being caught out time and time again. It just makes me think, Dana White's probably just looking at this. This guy's not going to fight on the White House card.
On the hierarchy of people I feel sorry for, number 1's Dana White because the UFC is suffering. Number 2's Dee Devlin because they're supposed to be having a long-lasting relationship where he's been through so much with her. They've stood together through thick and thin.
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care.
She broke her silence on Instagram today. Just said happy birthday.
Posted like 3 or 4 nice photos.
Yeah,
together.
she reposted a thing saying happy birthday, the one that provides for her and her kids. So that's a loyal woman. You know, that is actual loyalty. This guy can be on a beach kissing another woman, sending nudes on Twitter, and she sticks by him through thick and thin. That's what I want in my life.
Not that I condone any of Conor's behaviour.
No. But I'm just saying I want a loyal woman like that.
But if a woman was to treat me like that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be great. But I'm just saying, Conor McGregor, what's going on? What's going on? Because we want you to come back to the octagon.
He's teased it as well. He's gone to bare knuckle and saying, yeah, it's looking like the White House. That's where it's going to end up.
Dana White just was on the Milk Boys podcast and said, yeah, Conor McGregor could be on the White House card. So like, it's obviously not like that stupid to think that he might fight again.
It also is his birthday. Let the boy play. You know, but at the end of the day, it's not reflecting of a professional athlete. It's not like you said. You look at Ilia Topuria and how he respects his craft. Versus what Conor McGregor's doing online, it just doesn't look like he's going to be returning to the octagon anytime soon.
I'm going to say Conor. Like for myself, I'm like a Z-list celebrity, not even G, whatever. That far down the alphabet. He's ultra A-list celebrity. If you're sending your nudes around, do you not think someone's going to leak it? Like, be smart about this, Conor.
Doesn't care.
With your level of fame, no matter who you send it to, you could send it to Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
He's releasing that. I'm sorry.
Hey, but the Irish people still want him to potentially be president.
If he wins the Irish presidency after this, after the rape
everything.
allegations, after all these, he's better than Donald Trump because Donald Trump had some allegations. He had some bad things said about him, and he still won the US presidency.
Yeah.
But if Conor McGregor can do it, that's probably better than any win in the octagon he's ever had.
100%. Now, let's look over to UFC 318. News broke today. Joe Rogan will not be on commentary for UFC 318. This has got to be the first time in a long time that he hasn't been on a main card in America on the commentary team.
I think this is the first time since like UFC 271, since Joe Rogan has had a card in America that he's not going to be on color commentary.
Yeah, so Paul Felder will be replacing him with Jon Anik and Daniel Cormier. Now, look, I feel like the big MMA creators online are kind of sick of Joe Rogan's commentary.
You're saying MMA guru.
No, even Bedtime and a few others. They say he repeats the same thing about leg kicks, and
he's not as well versed as he used to be.
People forget, man, and I'm so surprised Ilia Topuria made this weight cut. Like he kind of says the same thing. I still think he's an expert in the field, and I enjoy hearing him on commentary personally. But a lot of people are saying this could slowly be the end of Joe Rogan on commentary with how Jon Anik is seen as the #1 commentator right now across everything. He's doing boxing. Daniel Cormier and Jon Anik doing a lot of fight nights as well. I don't know. I just think it's the signs that Joe Rogan, his time at the UFC could be numbered.
Well, the guy is probably the most famous presenter in the world. You could say that.
A famous podcaster for sure.
So he doesn't need to do this UFC thing anymore. He's kind of past it, but he does it out of the love and genuine being fandom of the sport. But the same way that he doesn't do overseas cards, I do see where he does have scheduling conflicts, or maybe it's a shit card like this card is, where he might say, look, you know what, I'm going to give it a pass.
He's that big enough. The guy's got $100 million from Spotify, whatever it is. He can kind of pick and choose what cards he wants to do because, like you said, he just wants to do cards that excites him and not as opposed to see it as a job where... I'm surprised he didn't want to call Dustin Poirier his last fight, though. That's what
they said it was a scheduling conflict. Okay. So he obviously committed to something prior, but I feel like this card's been released for a while. I don't know why all of a sudden now it comes out that he's not doing it. But to the people like MMA Guru or other creators that say, look, he's kind of past it, he's kind of done, I don't like it because he's someone that's given his time and he's still such a big name.
He was in the sport from the infancy.
But he's such a big name that he actually does add to a card. Even if he doesn't say the right thing or what people want him to say, he's still of that level of status that him being on commentary makes the fight more important. When you're watching highlights or you're watching people's old fights and you hear him on commentary, you're like, okay, this is an important fight. Joe Rogan said this about this during this fight. And even the post-octagon interviews, no one can replace him. And that's where I'm like, you know what? Dana's got one foot out the door. Joe Rogan's got one foot out the door. Will the UFC be the same when these guys are gone? Because you can't replace them.
Speaking of people pulling out, Mosvar Evloev out
Evloev.
Mosvar Evloev. Mosvar is out of his UFC Abu Dhabi fight. That's a fight night against Aaron Pico. He's pulled out with some sort of injury or illness. He's pulled out of fights quite a number of times now if you look at it.
Well, the criticism from the UFC and from a lot of fans is that he does pull out of fights and he fights so infrequently. Doesn't have activity, and that's why someone like Diego Lopez, who Mosvar beat, got a title shot before him. So this is just adding fuel to the fire because he himself, Volkanovski, and many fans have said he should be next in line for Volk's title.
Okay, so that begs the question now, who does Volk face next if Mosvar is out and doesn't go against Aaron Pico?
Well, everyone thought that UFC 320, which was supposed to be UFC Noche, Mexico City, was Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez. And that made sense because Yair's Mexican and they need a Mexican headlining the event. And Volkanovski versus him kind of makes sense as a fight. But if it's not in Mexico, Yair Rodriguez does not deserve a title shot. Mosvar did, but now he's pulled out of this fight. Ammunition to not give him a title fight. So I don't know who's next because there's really no true featherweight contender that's really pushing that he's clearly better than everyone else.
I think they are earmarking Yair Rodriguez. They're going to give him a rematch. And that's the thing.
Sell.
I don't think it sells, but also it does nothing for Volk's legacy. And Volk doesn't care. Volk says, I will take whoever the UFC gives me. He just wants to defend his title. But yeah, ultimately, I don't want it to be Yair. I think it does nothing for Volk because, like I said, you just recapture the title. You're going to go up against someone you already beat. It doesn't add anything to your legacy.
Who would you want him to
I would want him to face Mosvar. I think Mosvar can now pivot to him. But if it's not Mosvar, who else in the featherweight division makes sense?
I feel like if Gene Silva beats Diego Lopez and can turn around quick enough, which he probably could, he could definitely deserve a title shot because Mosvar right now, I'm sorry, you don't deserve it. Aaron Pico, could he go directly straight for it? Could he go straight to Volkanovski?
Nah, not coming in from another promotion. I don't think it makes sense. It's not like a bantamweight division or a flyweight division where they need new contenders to come in and some star power. Featherweight division is pretty stacked.
I feel like as well because Patricia Pitbull put on a stinker. What's his name? Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix came in, stunk it up. So, you can't have another Bellator, PFL, whatever it is, guy come over to the UFC and get a title shot straight away.
Yeah. Well, let's move over to some positive news. Ben Askren is on the road to recovery after having a double lung transplant. But I want to shout out everyone in the MMA community that contributed to him having this transplant. People like Dana White, who was asked, did you contribute to, his transplant? He said, look, I don't like talking about this, but I did. And, that's not the first time Dana White has done that for some of his fighters that have fought in the UFC. When Cain Velasquez needed money for bail, Dana White put his hand up and he contributed to that as well. And he does that more often than not. And I understand, yes, he's putting $1 million. He wants to put $1 million on a blackjack hand here and there so he can help his fighters. I think it's a stand-up thing to do. Jake Paul gave away $500,000?
I think at minimum. I think he gave away at minimum $500,000. He was asked about it. He goes, look, man, I don't know with these insurance companies. Apparently they're not covering his... I don't know, but they said something about how Ben Askren apparently has insurance, but his insurance said, no, the surgery is too expensive. So Jake Paul liked to point that out, and he actually said, look, I'm going to give him $500,000. I think his brother Logan contributed as well.
A lot of people on Twitter, online, got in touch with the family, contributed, and it's nice to see the MMA community get around him. It was a tragic situation. The guy went from being healthy, like he said in his recent video, he's never smoked weed, and then loses his lungs. And he kind of fell into despair a little bit. He goes, I caught myself feeling sorry for myself, but his mindset is now that he wants to be the best version of himself. That's it. It's happened, and he's moving forward. So it's very inspirational. And you even got someone like George Masvidal reaching out and saying, this is a guy that knocked him out cold. And he's saying, mate, you're a true warrior, and he can't wait to catch up with him in person.
I mean, for someone like Jorge Masvidal to put aside any beef that they ever had I know it may have just purely been business, but even like a business beef where they had to go at each other, he knocked him out. For him to come out in support of Ben Askren really shows you that when someone's health is at risk or when someone's life is at risk, everyone puts all this stupid stuff aside and really come to promote their fighter or come get behind their fighter. And I feel like, other beefs in the UFC that could be addressed if they had a double lung transplant, it would be nice to see.
Yeah, some people say the MMA fan base is one of the worst in the world, but when things like this happen, it shows you they're people. They're real people.
They're good people.
They're good people.
And for those that have a go at Dana White, if he had to really record every single time he was being charitable to someone, you'd think he was a flog. So, if he doesn't want to publicise when he's giving money to someone, don't condemn him for it because he may have been in touch with the Ben Askren family the entire time. You just don't know.
With the wife, yeah, which is great. And
you just don't know. So, it's not good to ever really call out Dana White for doing that because I'm sure he's got a conscience and I'm sure he wanted to help out as much as he could.
Well, let's get into the UFC 318 preview and predictions. It is in New Orleans, Louisiana, Dustin Poirier's hometown for his last dance up against Max Holloway. Let's start with the main card. Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. Look, I'm not convinced with Patricio Pitbull. I think he's past his prime. He's not the Bellator Pitbull that everyone talks about, whereas Dan Ige has been versing some formidable opponents in the featherweight division. I think he has...
Losing to some
He just won his most recent fight. I think he's looking better. And ultimately, I just think Pitbull's kind of past it. He didn't show that, he was the Pitbull of old against Yair Rodriguez. He kind of got dominated, if we're being honest, on the feet and when they kind of grappled. So I'm going to go with Dan Ige here to get the W, and I think it's Dan Ige by decision.
Look, the thing with this is Dan Ige, yes, he came in on short notice that one time against Diego Lopez, but I feel like that's been very much overblown. It's very over-exaggerated. I get it. He saved the UFC card one day, UFC no-show last year. But since then, he lost to Leroy Murphy, and he had an okay victory in his last fight. In saying that, Patricio Pitbull is still a top 5 featherweight in the world. I think Dan Ige himself has said it this week. No matter what ranking he is, this is a guy that's beat Michael Chandler. He's a 2 weight division champion over in Bellator. This guy is a good fighter. So if he's going to have a redemption fight against someone like Dan Ige, who I see as a very easy win for Patricio Pitbull.
He does want that win back, yeah.
He does want that win back. He's got a point to prove in the UFC. The only issue for me is his age, but we've seen this year, Kamaru Usman, Volkanovski, old fighters have been winning. So I'm going to go with Patricio Pitbull by decision. I just see these guys at featherweight, 3-round fight. It's going to go the distance, and I'm going Pitbull by decision.
Okay, we'll disagree there. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Kevin Holland is averaging almost 4 fights a year. This guy's the most active fighter in the UFC. And I think he's going to win this fight and probably fight another 2 more times this year. You got to think, it is only July. He's coming off a win. He avenged his recent loss this year. And I think he's just looking better. He has faced great opponents. How has he lost to in his division, really? RDR, Michael Venom Page, Hamza when he fought Hamza, some top contenders in the division. So I think he's going to go on a bit of a run here this year. And it's great to see that there's UFC fighters that want to remain active and not just take 1-2 fights a year. He wants to get paid. He wants to prove himself that he can get in the octagon with just about anyone, say yes to anyone. And I think he gets it done against Daniel Rodriguez. He's got a slight reach advantage. I think he's probably going to be better on the feet. And you also have to watch for his submissions because he can get it done via submission. So I'm taking Kevin Holland to win here.
I'm not pocket watching Kevin Holland, but he needs to fight 5 times a year to earn the money of these main events.
What's he getting? 200,000-300,000
I think from the last card, from the alleged MGM reported earnings of these fighters, I think he earns like 200 to 250 a fight. Whereas someone like Ilia Topuria is closing in on 2 million. So Ilia Topuria fights 1-2 times a year because he gets paid more. Kevin Holland needs this volume to go in that type of money that probably needs it for his lifestyle. I don't know. But this is a fight where, look, Kevin Holland, I just don't know. I don't want to bet on him because every single time he fights,
it'll be hit and miss.
It's hit and miss. He either loses in an upset or he wins in an upset. It's just like, I don't know anymore. So for this fight, I'm just not going to bet against him. I'm just going to say he's going to win, but I got no confidence in it at all.
Okay, well, let's move over to the next fight. Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. Now, Paulo Costa, it's almost a year since we've seen him in the octagon.
It's been, though, since like June 2nd last year was his last fight. It's been over a year.
Which is crazy. He last fought Strickland in a very boring fight where he was kind of evading, running away, was not very active in the octagon. In terms of the old Paulo Costa that we've seen, we know he can strike, who head kicked, what's his name, Rob Whittaker, you know what I mean, and brings the fight forward. We haven't seen that in a long time. Kopylov is a guy that can stand up, has fought guys in his division. I think he lost to Imavov. Is one of his only big losses.
He lost. I think it was UFC 298. It was his only loss in the UFC. So the guy's got a pretty good resume. And for someone like Paulo Costa, who I don't want to say he's old, but he's on the back end of his career with the losses he's had. He's on a pretty downward trajectory. He needs to turn it around.
He's facing, if he loses this fight, he gets cut from the UFC.
No. He's still he's a co-main event. He's because of the good personality.
He's a personality, I understand, but again, this would be his 3rd loss in a row. That's a 3-fight losing streak. Again, with a boring fight style like Strickland, Dana was very critical of that fight. Strickland didn't like it. He said he never came forward. And was kind of evading him the whole time. With that in mind, I think Paulo Costa is going to go out there with a game plan. I need to be exciting. And I'm going to bring the fight forward.
Be aggressive.
Every time I have gone with Paulo Costa, I lose. Whether it was against Rob Whittaker, whether it was against Sean Strickland, I am still going to go with Paulo Costa. I think he's taken this year off, reevaluated. He's been training with the likes of people around the world in Europe. I know he was in there with Oban Elliott and a few people of just random teams, fine-tuning his skills. And I think he kind of beats Kopylov. I think he's going to bring the fight forward, try and be exciting, try and win with more volume. So I'm going with Paulo Costa.
Look, you can tell we're probably fanboys. We are big fans
of
Paulo
Costa. I like him. He's a great interviewer. He's fun.
He's entertaining on Twitter. He's entertaining in interviews. So if he does lose and gets cut from the UFC,
I'd be upset.
That's something that I do not want. So for the sake of my own want and needs, I want Paulo Costa to win. For this fight, though, because it's in the co-main event, I feel like he's going to step up to the pressure here because
was he not co-main with Strickland?
He was co-main with Strickland, and I think that's what kind of got to his head a bit. He said, "Look, I was listening to my coaches; they were telling me to fight differently, go for a decision victory," and he's talking pretty down on his last fight. I think it's obvious he's going to change the way he's fighting, go back to the old Paulo Costa, pre-losing to Izzy Adesanya, the really aggressive, unstoppable. Looks like he's one of the best fighters in the world because he's got the body for it. The guy's a beast. He's phenomenal. He's in phenomenal shape.
Genetic freak.
Genetic freak, so it's actually a shame if he doesn't win. So I'm going to take Paulo Costa by KO. I'm reaching for the
KO?
stars. Yeah, I'm reaching.
Okay, I'm going to take Paulo Costa decision.
I might just go head-to-head, but I want a KO.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into our multis just after this as we preview the main event. Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier 3. It is Dustin Poirier's retirement fight, the last dance for Dustin Poirier. Nick, how do you see this fight going? Who do you actually want to see win?
Look, it's no secret I've never been a massive fan of Dustin Poirier.
You don't like the diamond?
I don't like the diamond. I see the memes online, shine bright like a diamond. Listen, I don't like him. I respect him, one of the greatest lightweights of all time, probably the best fighter in the UFC's history to never win a title. But if he wins this weekend, it kind of destroys the lightweight division and Max Holloway because it just adds a further hiccup. It just adds another contender or another person that doesn't need to be in title contention. And for someone like Max Holloway, he's knocked out Justin Gaethje, probably deserves to be a top 5 lightweight, possibly on the precipice of a championship.
Yes, it's a massive week in the UFC, but it's also a huge week in boxing. We're in the heart of Las Vegas right now. It is Tim Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora 2, but it's also Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios for a title. You got Alexander Usyk versus Dubois 2 on the other side of the world in England. So again, this is a massive week in boxing. If you want my quick predictions, I'll give them to you. No bias at all. I'm going with Tim Tszyu. I think Tim Tszyu can get it done. I think he got it done with, a liter of blood in his eye last time. I think he's going to be sharper. He's going to be much more well prepared for Sebastian Fundora, who a lot of people say have gotten better since his last fight with Tim Tszyu. But I think Tim Tszyu gets it done. Nick, heart of Las Vegas, you think Tim can do it?
Look, we're obviously Australian, but there is no bias here. We were here in person last time, Fundora versus Tim Tszyu. Fundora did come in on short notice, so that did probably hurt Tim Tszyu as well. Yeah. But the game plan was good. If he did not cut his eye, he would have won that fight. He was piecing him up. Even with the size and length advantage that Fundora has, Tim Tszyu looked like the more skilled and better power boxer. And I think the same's going to happen this weekend. So I'm going to remove all bias, and I'm going to say Tim Tszyu is probably not going to get the knockout, but he'll probably go decision again, and he's going to chop the tree down, he's going to get it done.
Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios for a title. Now, this is Manny Pacquiao at 46 years old, making a comeback, fighting for a title. Imagine if he actually wins a title at 46 years old. Look, would be crazy, but I can't see it happening.
Again, I don't know the financial predicament that Manny Pacquiao's in, but for you to have to come out of retirement and box at 46 years old, you must need the money. He's got to need the money,
you fought with Floyd. You think he would have been set?
Like that was 100 mil, presumably. It was 100 mil that he got paid. So I don't know what he's blown the 100 mil on. Maybe he's got a gambling problem. Maybe not the best time to having a fight in Vegas. But
listen, I think
anyone at 46 years old, you're probably going to lose a fight.
I think Mario Barrios is just going to be a bit more sharp, a bit more skillful. He's younger. He's the current champ. He's shown nothing but respect to Manny, throughout the whole months in the lead up to this fight. But I just think he's just going to be a class above and probably get a finish and finish Manny Pacquiao's career.
Though Manny Pacquiao probably won that fight against that Aussie, Jeff Horn, back in 2018, 2019. Since that fight, I've really thought that I didn't know he was boxing anymore. I thought he was done.
He's had a few exhibitions here.
And the only fighter that could probably come out of retirement at 46 and still win is Floyd. So unless Floyd decides to come out of retirement, any boxer or any fighter at 46 years of age, you're going to lose. You're just going to, you're not in your prime, you're not in your physical condition that Mario Barrios will be in. He's going to be overpowering, he's going to be too fast, too quick, especially at these lower weights. You're supposed to rely on your speed, your reaction time. It's not going to be there for
100% true.
Even though he's one of the GOATs, it's just not your time anymore.
Yeah, we got Isaac Cruz fighting on the card as well in a rematch. Again, last time we saw him, he beat Rolly Romero here.
And then he lost straight after that.
Yeah, I know. I still think he's one of the better boxers in that division. I'm going with Pitbull Cruz to get the job done as well. And then the big fight, heavyweight bout, rematch. Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. Dubois, really, I'm going to say, ducked Joseph Parker
because
in Saudi Arabia. He didn't need to fight him. He's been rewarded with a heavyweight title shot. Now, at the end of the day, I think Alexander Usyk is the best heavyweight cruiserweight right now. And I don't see him losing. I know it's a rematch. Daniel Dubois has got the punching power, but Usyk is just a calculated boxer that has beaten the likes of Tyson Fury twice. He's beaten Daniel Dubois before. I think he goes in, not that he makes easy work, but I think he just gets the job done, probably goes to decision, and either retires or he sets up another bout with an Anthony Joshua at Wembley, or he sets up a trilogy with Tyson Fury in the UK.
Look, Tyson Fury doesn't deserve another fight against Alexander Usyk.
Everyone says that.
But Turkey El Sheikh said Tyson Fury is coming out of retirement. He's got it in writing. It's happening. So Alexander Usyk with the money that these Saudis are paying, there's zero chance that he retires.
Think, with the way that boxing is right now, if you put them two in Wembley, it sells out. Yeah. It's a crazy atmosphere, and you get Tyson Fury selling that. Look what Conor Ben and Chris Eubank Jr. did. It sold out at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So, again, with the state of boxing in the UK, if I'm Usyk, I want to have that fight not in Saudi Arabia. I want to have that in a lively arena and prove it. You beat him 3 times. Would be unbelievable to watch, but he doesn't need to have that.
And look, Usyk's going to win this fight. He's too good of a champion. He's too good of a fighter. Nothing against Daniel Dubois. Another good fighter. But Usyk's just a class above.
Yeah, so if you want my picks, we're taking Tim Tszyu to win head-to-head. We've got Mario Barrios to win. And we're taking Alexander Usyk, 3 legs together. Take that with whatever gets you. And if you're feeling lucky, take Pitbull Cruz as well.
And the thing is with Alexander Usyk, I think he won't retire, but it depends on his opponent. If they're going to try and feed him Joseph Parker, nothing against Joseph Parker, but Usyk has said, I've got no interest in fighting him because it doesn't sell. It's not the big money fight that he wants. He wants big names. He wants big money. So really, you're going to have to feed him someone that's going to make it worthwhile for him.
Yeah. Someone also that can sell the fight because Usyk does a shocking job of selling.
True, that's true. And I feel like someone like Jai Apatai, who says he wants to go up to heavyweight, could go up and face a former cruiserweight himself.
Especially if he beats, Zurdo Ramirez.
So like, there's options there for Alexander Usyk, but I don't know. It's a pretty big fight, and it's a pretty big week of fights. The biggest for me is going to be Poirier versus Max Holloway. It's the most relevant to my liking and my interests. But if Usyk Dubois put on a banger, they're going to be fighting for the Twitter algorithm.
Yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. But that's all we have time for here in Las Vegas. Make sure you stay in tune all week. We've got a lot of interviews, a lot of skits coming here from Las Vegas. That's all we have time for. Make sure you subscribed on YouTube at Jon-Bernard K.
Also, the summer league's on as well. So
Summer League.
We might go watch Bronny James.
That's true. Hey, and make sure you subscribe on YouTube at K Roos Bros and checking out our clips on TikTok at Jon-Bernard K. That's all we have time for. Back to you in the studio, Ryan.